Hello, everybody. Welcome to Ask Andrea. Once per month, I take your questions. I get all these questions that come into my website, and I'm happy to answer them for you. So we're going to get right into it. For those of you that are joining me for the first time here, this is people send in questions to my website, www.andreabeeman.com. And I answer the questions once per month, right? So this will be the last time, I think, for the summer. So I have a lot of questions that came in. So we're going to hop right to it. So the first question came in from Denise. And Denise says, what is the best way of getting rid of phlegm in the bronchial area? I've had it for a long time. Foods that will help and foods to avoid. Okay. So, Denise, this is a great question. So we need phlegm in our lungs. We can't breathe without it. We need mucus, right? But if you have an excess of phlegm, that's a problem, right? So you have to look at a couple of things. The first is, are you eating enough pungent foods, right? So phlegm, and this is according to Chinese medicine, right? So you have pungent foods that disperse phlegm. So you have garlic and onions and leeks. Even broccoli falls into that category, ginger. So make sure you're getting some of those foods to help break up the phlegm. And then you could always do something like thyme tea. So a basic kitchen herb like thyme. If you're getting a lot of phlegm, you want to expectorate, right? You want to get that phlegm broken up and then up and out. So thyme tea, some people even do like they'll hang their head over a bowl of water, put in a little bit of thyme oil. Hi, Brinnis. What's the best cure for spondylitis? I'll get to your questions. I'm getting to the website questions first. Hi, Bradley. Hi, everybody. Hi, Alexia. Okay, so that's what you can do, Denise, to help get rid of that phlegm in your bronchial area. First break it up, get those pungent, spicy foods in there, and then expectorate. Like I said, a little bit of thyme tea, put extra thyme into your food. That would be great. Okay, so Donna sent in a question, and Donna said, I have done everything to clean up my diet. I eat only fresh veggies and fruit, meat, very little prepackaged food, and I have celiac. My problem is I cannot lose weight. I've tried everything, and I cannot even lose 1 pound. Do you have any suggestions? Yes, Donna, I do have some suggestions. So the first suggestion is you cleaned up your diet. You're eating fresh veggies, fruit, and meat, very little packaged food, and you have celiac. So first, you have to heal the gut. So you have celiac, which is showing that you have some intestinal imbalance there. You want to support and soothe and heal that gut so that the food that you're eating gets absorbed rather than just kind of sitting around, or in some cases, really leaving the body very quickly or staying in for a long period of time. So you want to make sure that gut is doing really well. So what's going on in your gut? Are you eating foods, like even though you're having veggies and fruits, how are you eating them? So for example, some people don't have a strong digestive fire and they can't process raw vegetables. So if you're eating a lot of raw vegetables, right, with your fruit and your meat, you could be cooling down your digestive fire, and it won't actually work for your condition. It'll make it worse. So like people with celiac and Crohn's and colitis and stuff like that, I don't recommend raw foods. They're great for other people, but not necessarily for somebody with celiac. So if you're not losing weight, how are you preparing your foods? Are you having them too cold, too raw? It's going to really not support your system in a deeper way. And then, of course, are you exercising, right? So everybody wants to know what to eat to lose weight and all that stuff, but are you moving your body on a daily basis? And when I say daily, I mean I'm not talking about going to the gym every day. I'm talking about getting up and moving for at least 45 to 50 minutes every day, taking a walk outside, because we are a very sedentary society, and that's the truth. Hi, Leah. Hi, Lynn. I'll get to all those questions. I'm first getting to these questions that came into my website. Okay, so you got to move your body on a daily basis. You want to lose weight. You want everything to move and to flow. You got to get up and get moving every day, not just 3 to 4 times a week at the gym. Get moving. Let's see. Yasmin says, I'm diagnosed with hypothyroid and I'm taking thyroxine. I suffer from asthma and I take inhalers. Please recommend how I can get intact with my thyroid and make my periods regular naturally. Okay, so you got a lot of stuff going on, Yasmin. Right? So for you, I would recommend you pick up my book, Happy Healthy Thyroid, but also go to my website, right? Because you have to, something's going on with the lungs. You have asthma. So this is a deficiency, a lung deficiency. So you want to nourish and support the lungs. And you have hypothyroid, which is your body's slowing down and your periods are irregular. So there's something happening in the endocrine system as well, not just the thyroid. If the periods are irregular, then you have to look to the health of the liver. Hi, Susan. You have to look to the health of the liver because the liver is responsible for the breakdown of the old hormone that's circulating in the system, but it's also responsible for the conversion of T4 to T3. So with your condition, I would certainly get into the hands of an herbalist like myself or a health coach or an acupuncturist, right? To help get your body regulated and support your liver. And that should help with a lot of that stuff. And as far as the asthma, you need some lung qi strengtheners. So look that up online. Lung qi strengtheners. You probably get like Prince Sang or something like that. And that should help because if you're taking those inhalers every day, your liver also has to process that stuff. It's got to break down. It's got to process the steroid hormones and all that. Okay. So I'm just getting to the questions that came into the website. Nisha says, sebaceous cysts. Why do we get them and how to get rid of them? I developed a tiny cyst in a couple of places on my body, chest and arms, never infected, so it didn't bother me. Recently, one of them got infected and I had to take antibiotics. I hate this option. Well, antibiotics come in when when you need them. You have a serious infection, you take them. Although a sebaceous cyst is not really such a serious infection, but if it's infected and it's not healing, that shows that the immune system's not working well. So she says, how to prevent this in the future? I eat well as per my body type. I'm an IIN health coach, but I can't figure this out. Okay, so sebaceous cysts, you know that's the sebaceous glands are where the little hairs come out. Little hair come out from your skin, and also where the little oils come out. So you may not be actually processing oils and proteins really well. So like I've had clients that have had sebaceous cysts and they're eating tons of like avocado and coconut oil and and once they start to reduce that, there's only so much fat the body can take. They start to reduce that, those kind of shrink and go away. So something's not being processed, right? Something's not being processed. And also be careful of what you put on your skin. You don't want your pores to clog. Don't put on any antibacterial stuff. Get into a good sauna, right? Get out and sweat. Open up all your integumentary system. Open up your whole system. Sweat. And that should help with that. Okay, and next time you get an infection on the skin, you know how everybody takes echinacea for when they have a cold or a flu or something like that. You get an infection on the skin, start dropping echinacea right on it. Right, a little echinacea, a little witch hazel, just to help clear that stuff up. That can help. This Nicola sends in a note. She says, I've been taking the herbs. I read your book, Happy Healthy Thyroid. I take ashwagandha 2 times a day, multivitamins, minerals, whole food supplements, iron, zinc. Well, if you read my book, I don't recommend taking so much stuff. Right? So, there's only so much that the body can process. So you're taking a lot of stuff. Plus she's doing burdock, lemon juice cleanse, milk thistle daily. I'm taking 25 milligrams of thyroxine. I weaned down from 50 milligrams. My blood results were better. Only been taking the added herbs for 1 month. I feel a difference already in alertness, memory, fog is better. Long-term memory is improving. The thing is, I'm still very overweight and obese and putting on weight. I do light exercise, yoga 2 to 3 times a week. Walking, exercise, jogging 2 times a week. I'm not having any appetite, though, and no taste in my mouth, which I've had for years. Is this a deficiency? I did the liver cleanse for 4 weeks. I eat fish, veg, healthy, but no meat. I don't eat meat. I follow your guides. Soup, hot food helps. Please give tips on weaning off thyroxine. I want to wean off completely. Should I just be patient and give it more time to improve? As the doctor is putting a bit of fear in me. I want healing. I want to wean off complete medication with the herbs as a result to show the healing is very slow. What do you think? Any help is greatly appreciated. I'm in the UK, so let me know when my question is live. Don't miss the time zone. Okay, so you're doing great, right? So you started, you know, reading and changing some stuff. You're taking a lot of herbs, but you're also taking medication. So you got to make sure that your liver is clearing. So I'm happy that you're doing the milk thistle, especially when you're on thyroid medications, right? Because remember, thyroid, the T4 and T3 is converted. It's converted in the muscles and some other places, but mostly in the liver. So you got to make sure the liver is working well. And when, as far as weight loss, just like I said to the other gal, the first gal, Donna, it's, you know, it's good that you're exercising 2 to 3 times yoga per week and then walking 2 to 3 days. But if you can, get into the habit of moving your body every single day. Every single day. Taking a daily walk every single day for like 35 or 40 minutes. This will help to keep your system flowing and moving and keep your lymph fluids moving, right? Because you know that only with movement does your lymph go. So that's something to be conscious of, that you're moving on a daily basis. And if you know, like you said, you're feeling better, your brain fog is less, so just keep moving forward. You know, the weight didn't come on overnight, it's not going to come off overnight. That's the way that it goes. And I see questions coming in. I just want to let you guys know that I'm getting to the questions here first. I'll try and oh, Melissa says, what's the best for Epstein Barr? You got to boost up your immune system. I like lemon balm, licorice root, and cat's claw. But, you know, you got to be careful with taking too much stuff. Okay. So let me see. This gal says, Natalia says, it's a pleasure to meet you, and I'm so happy you have this space. I would like to know if you can give me dietary advice for dysbiosis or any other tips. Thank you very much for your time and response. Her name is Natalia. So dysbiosis, you're talking about infections in the gut. So why is there an infection in the gut? First, you got to look and say, why is there an infection in the gut? Are you eating foods that your body doesn't like, or that is breaking down your immune system? Is there an old infection in the gut? So like one of the things that I like to use for infections in the gut, in general, increase your garlic, right? Increase your garlic. It's naturally antibacterial, but if you need something stronger, go with something like barberry, golden seal. But you have to be careful with that stuff. Don't take it too long. Get with a good herbalist, you know, because you want to clean up the gut. Because if your gut is not functioning well, it affects your entire body. It affects every single system in your body. So, like I said, I like. Oh, you could also use Oregon grapefruit, right? You could probably take that a little longer than golden seal. Golden seal is short, right? Short time, 3 days, 3 days max. You're in and you're out. Okay, let's see. Anna says I'll take, because we got 42 questions here, so I'll take one from here as well. Eliana says, herniated discs and osteoporosis at a young age. What are your thoughts, teacher? Okay, Eliana, I think I'm saying that correctly. I would suggest, first and foremost, you got to get mineral-rich foods into your diet. So if you have osteoporosis at a young age, and I had a client that had osteoporosis at 28 years old, and she had been a long time vegan, so she wasn't absorbing on a deep level. And she started having bone stocks, and within 1 year, she cured her osteoporosis. It wasn't osteopenia, it was osteoporosis in her hips. And within 1 year of doing the bone stocks, incorporating more proteins, as well as mineral-rich foods into the diet. So if the osteoporosis is at a young age, then you're not absorbing minerals. The person is not absorbing minerals on a deep level. So you need to have the fats. You need to have the proteins. You need, you know, you could certainly just start taking minerals, but what if it doesn't get deposited? Or if it's getting deposited in the wrong places and not getting absorbed? Then you're going to wind up with little spurs. So that's something to think about. Okay, so I'll bounce back and forth. This question here, this question here. So these are the questions that came into my website, Ask Andrea. If you go to AndreaBeeman.com, on the sidebar is the Ask Andrea. If I don't get to your question today, you could go into that little sidebar, put your question in, and I'll try and get to it. Like I said, this may be the last one for the summer, because, you know, I gotta take a break. Okay. So the next one came in from Anna. Oh, actually, Charlene. Charlene says, what is the best detox for a fatty liver? Great question, because we have a lot of fatty livers, especially for those of you that live in America. This is like fatty liver land. the land of the home, land of the free, home of the fatty liver. That's what it's like. So you got to reduce the sugars, starches, all the breads, all the pastries. Take all that soda. Goodbye. Say goodbye, soda. Soda. You know, like if you're here on this thread, you shouldn't be having soda anyway. You know, like once in a while you want a root beer that's maybe like real roots, then that's cool. But other than that, soda is crap. That's like liquid crap. So to detox for fatty liver, fasting is amazing. Fasting is great. Lowering all of your sugar intake, making sure you're getting lots of bitter foods, bitter digestives as well. Like when you start eating foods, make sure you're getting chamomile tea because it's a natural cholagogue, right? It's going to start, and also milk thistle, right? These are great for the liver. But to detox a fatty liver, you really have to fast and cut the sugar out. Right? Cut the sugar out, yo. Okay, so Anna says, hi, Andrea, I have chronic thyroiditis. Where do I start? What supplements and herbal medicine should I start with? I'm 58 years old, extreme fatigue, had a brain damage and thrombosis in 2013, removed 19 corroded dental implants in 2012. I feel terrible and exhausted. I have read one of your books and felt good. Greetings from Portugal. Sorry for such a long message. That's not really that long. Actually, it was kind of short. For the chronic thyroiditis, we're talking about inflammation. The extreme fatigue, the body is exhausted from fighting all the inflammation, as well as you had brain damage and thrombosis. So there is a tea on my website that I would recommend for you. It's called Hypothyroid Tea, and in it is Cola, which helps with the brain to help support and heal the brain. It has red clover, which supports the liver, cleansing and detox of the liver. It also has, I think, a little bit of licorice root. So if you're exhausted, that's going to help. By the way, for the gal who was asking about Epstein Barr, licorice is also a great one. Okay, so let's see. Oh, this is a good question from Lori. I mean, they're all good questions. You guys ask great questions, and I love answering them. Lori says, what causes floaters in the eye, and what can be done to get rid of them? A friend asked me this today, and I said I'd find out for her what's behind them. Okay, so there's this fluid in the eye, right? We have fluid in the eye, and the fluid in the eye is actually, the kidneys are responsible for the water element in the body. So whenever the fluid is drying up anywhere, you have to look to the kidneys. So in the eye, right? So we're looking at the kidneys because the kidneys feed the liver. And guess what meridian runs up through the eyes, right? It starts at the big toe, comes up through the knees, goes through the reproductive organs, through the chest and the breast. Second channel comes up, goes through the neck, through the cheeks, through the eyes, to the top of the head. So when you have floaters in the eye, liver's not clearing, and it's not getting fed by the kidney, the water element that it needs. So they're a little bit dry in there. So like we have debris everywhere in our body all the time. Your cells are always, you have debris, you have little cells that break down and all that stuff. So the floaters are the debris that hasn't cleared. So it can come from a dry condition. And if it's a dry condition and you have it in the eye, you'll probably also have like crackling bones, right? The bones will just kind of, right? Like as if you're like a little Cracker Jack machine or a popcorn. Every time you move, pop, 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 right? Oh, this little crackling machine. So you want to nourish the kidneys because the kidneys are the water element, and the water element feeds the liver, which is the wood element, right? And like I said, the wood element comes through the eyes. So you're looking at a system that is in a state of deficiency here. So floaters can come from that. And, you know, I know because I've had floaters since I'm a teenager. And they popped up when I started doing heavy drugs in my teenage years. From 13 to 21, I was doing a tremendous amount of drugs, hardcore drugs. And I damaged my kidney element, right? So there's ways to damage your kidney element. Stress, too much work, not sleeping at night, drugs and alcohol. Those all damage the kidney element, and that'll affect the liver as well. you know, like I don't think they've gotten worse, but they have not gone away. They're still there, those little suckers. When they popped up, I was like 18. I was like, what the heck are all those little, what are all those little things floating around in my vision? I thought I had bugs in my eyes. It was crazy. Okay, so I'll take another question from you guys here. May says, can you talk about eczema? Yeah, I can. Eczema, you know, like you're looking at it, it's red, dry, inflamed, itchy. So what are you not absorbing, and what is being pushed out through lymph and through integumentary, right? So are you not absorbing your proteins? Like when eczema pops up, there's an inability to process specific proteins. Eggs, dairy, wheat proteins, like what can't you process? What can't you absorb? Soy proteins, right? They have to go somewhere. You can't process them. They have to go somewhere. So it's going to cause a reaction and inflammation within the system and come up through the skin, right? The skin is another detoxification organ, right? So whatever your kidneys, because your kidneys are responsible for processing the proteins, whatever your kidney can't process, it's going to, you know, okay, let's go through the skin. Goodbye. There's too much here for me to take care of. So the whole body is working together. So where is the eczema popping up? You gotta make sure. I would suggest like Nettles Tea because it helps you absorb proteins, but also look at your proteins and see what you're not absorbing. Okay, so let's go back to one of these questions. Anne says, how are we doing on time? 121, we're good. We got another 20 minutes. Anne says, I constantly have a feeling of being bloated. I eat very clean. The only dairy I eat is cultured buttermilk or kefir. Got to get those probiotics, she says. And I cook most of my food. I'm a very careful eater, but no matter what I seem to do, I'm constantly bloated. I also find that I get bloated when I eat the probiotic-rich foods, such as the ones above, or even kraut and fermented pickles. Any suggestions? I'm an active, fit person who eats a clean diet. I'm very confused. Okay, so sometimes eating too clean is not so good. So you want to make sure, like you're eating the cooked foods, that's great, you're getting bloated, so it's showing some liver and lymph congestion. So what kind of fats are you eating? And are you absorbing those fats? Right? So again, liver is that, and I love, you know, send your liver some love right now. Go right underneath your little right rib cage and just send it some love because it's doing so much work, right? So the first part of the eating process, you want to make sure that you are stimulating the bile to go in and digest and process the fats so that you can absorb more of the nutrients, right? So without the process of the fats and the nutrients, you're not going to be able to absorb. So there's going to be this bloating that happens if the liver is congested in any way or not working well in any way, right? So, you know, like if you were eating raw food, I'd say stop the raw food, but you're not. So you have to look to the liver. So before you eat, 15 minutes before you eat, and I just did a digestive class, I think it was last month. If you go on my website, you'll see, or learn it live. 15 minutes before you eat, strong cup of chamomile tea. Strong cup of, start that process because it's a cholagogue. It'll naturally stimulate the liver to start producing the bile or stimulate the gallbladder, right, to get ready for this process of whatever's coming in. So that's what I would suggest there. Okay, so let me take another question here. Melissa says, can you recommend anything for the Epstein Barr virus? So many people have it. Isn't that crazy? So many people. Even I have Epstein Barr. 90% of the world's population has Epstein Barr. And you know, once you get a virus, it's there. It's going to stay in your system. The only time it comes up to the surface is when you are stressed, when your immune system is down. So what's going on? So like, what's bringing the Epstein Barr to the surface? Are you eating too much sugar? Are you stressed? How's the immune system doing? Right? Because the immune system is going to keep the EBV in check. So also to bring up vitamin D levels. So if you have the Epstein Barr, you're exhausted and fatigued, right? So that's going to affect your vitamin D as well, because you know the kidneys store most of the vitamin D, and the kidneys are also where your energy lives, meaning the kidneys and the adrenals together are a system that is like the battery support in the body. So if you're exhausted, okay, let's look at the kidneys and the adrenals. So for Epstein Barr, like I said earlier, I like licorice root. It helps to boost the immune system, nourish the body on a deep level, and it's also antiviral, right? So you want to get some antivirals in the system, and as well as boost the immune system at the same time. And also get out in the sun. Don't believe that crap, my gosh, that they told us was from the 1970s, 80s, 90s. They're still to this day, they're throwing that crap around. Don't go out in the sun. My God, Lord have mercy. I want you to go take one of your plants and cover it in sunscreen and see how long it lives. And then I want to apologize for killing your plant in advance. It won't live long, right? So keep that in mind, that we are human, right? We need sunshine as well, where we are an inhabitant of this planet, and the sun is very good for us. Now, getting burned in the sun is not good for us. And you want to make sure that you have adequate cholesterol levels, because you need cholesterol for the synthesis of vitamin D. And also, when you come home from a day out in the sun, don't get me started, my gosh, I get so crazy about this. When you come home from a day in the sun, do not wash yourself with antibacterial soap. Oh my God, don't even soap yourself. Right? Just let the water come over you. You don't, like, we're so clean, and it's one of the things that is damaging our immune system, right? Because we need bacteria, we need bugs, we need all this stuff. It actually strengthens our immune system. So when you come home, don't antibacterial soap, rinse off. Take a cold shower, but don't soap yourself all up. We're so obsessed with being squeaky clean. It's insane. Okay, that's the end of that story. Let me see. Let me come back here. I hope I answered the question. Because sometimes I can just go off on a tangent. Lori says, I'm 53 and I was just told to have hypothyroidism. I don't want to take drugs. Is there anything I can do naturally? Yes, there's a lot you can do naturally. First, why is the thyroid slowing down? Why? Stress will throw the thyroid off. You're not getting enough deep nutrition, it's going to throw it off. Not getting adequate rest at night, not absorbing nutrients, all of that is going to contribute to hypothyroidism. And then, what can you do to nourish yourself? Good quality food, get some great fats, daily exercise, sunshine, and also remember that the body will naturally slow and speed up at certain times of the year. Right, so I think that, I'm going to put it out there and say that I think that hypothyroidism and all the stuff that we have going on right now is just a big conspiracy to sell drugs. Just like cholesterol medication, that crap in the 70s and the 80s, still to this day, they're selling cholesterol medication. You go to the doctor like, oh, high cholesterol. But now you take a look at what's going on in the world, and there's lots of doctors that are doing extra tests, like to see the fluffy particles, because high cholesterol doesn't mean you're going to have a heart attack and die. Unfortunately, so it sold a lot of drugs and it harmed a lot of people in the process. So I think the same thing is going on with thyroid disease. Every single person is getting this hypothyroidism diagnosis across the United States and probably around the world. And I think it's just to sell more drugs. Your body's naturally going to slow at certain times. It's going to speed at certain times. So if you have an emotional trauma, thyroid's going to slow, right? As you're supposed to process that amount of stress that's going on in the system. So all of that needs to be kept in mind. And also, I would suggest picking up my book, Happy Healthy Thyroid, because it's going to go through all of the steps. And I'll show you that book. It's my favorite. I've got a lot of books, but you can pick up that one, Happy Healthy Thyroid. Follow the steps in here: diet, lifestyle, exercise, and it should help to speed, or not speed, but to support your thyroid so that it becomes more balanced. Okay. Jasmine says, can lupus systematically be healed? If so, what are the things that can attribute? Can the kidneys, cardiovascular, and liver be healed as well? I love that question. So let's just stick with lupus. It's an autoimmune condition, so you got to look into the gut. If the gut is out of balance, the autoimmune system will always be popping up, all right? Because over 70% of your immune system lives in the gut. So that's something to be conscious of as you are anybody with an autoimmune condition, right? Rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, Graves, all of that is autoimmune. So you got to look at the gut. What's going on in the gut? So let's take another question from here. Susan says, natural things, foods or herbals to take for exercise performance. I sometimes take D-rooibos for an extra kick before workouts. I'm a new personal trainer and looking for tips. I don't know of specific herbals to take for performance, but like, I don't know what D-rooibos is, but it's O, so that means it's some form of sugar, right? So I'm a big fan of actually just eating like food mostly. So I don't know any supplements to boost energy. I do know some, like when you're thinking of sugar, like I think of foods, like what kind of foods naturally contain the sugars. So like all of the root vegetables contain sugars, and the ones that boost energy, right? Specifically the ones for long-term health that boost our energy and give us that little hit of sugar, like all of the ginsengs, even burdock root, tubers, right? Because those are sugar storages. But if you don't want to eat a big meal before you work out as well. Okay, so let's see. Sis says flaky eyebrows, sometimes a little redness. What is this a symptom of? If removed, it sometimes creates a gap in the eyebrow. Okay, so this part of your eyebrow is related to your triple heater and to your thyroid, right? This part of the eyebrow. So a lot of times when somebody has like cancer or thyroid disease, this part of the eyebrow will disappear, right? It just disappears, and it'll disappear for a couple of reasons. Like you're having a flakiness, so I'm going to suggest that you're not absorbing fats properly. Because whenever your skin gets flaky, there's not enough lubrication, right? So again, easy fix. Chamomile tea, start before your meals, something to stimulate the production of bile so that you can absorb your fats better, and make sure that you're getting fat. Right, so there's a whole thing right now going on the web with coconut oil, right? Everybody's like, coconut oil this and coconut oil that, and some people say it's not so good, and other people say it's good, and I like coconut oil. I prefer saturated fats that grow in my area more, right? So I prefer ghee and butter. I have coconut oil once in a while, but it's not for me a daily occasion, right? And I know that everybody's in the health and wellness industry, they're coconut oil crazy. But, just get your fats however you want them, like I think that we've taken out so much saturated fat that we're just naturally drawn. Like when people start to feel better after they have coconut oil, it's because they've taken out saturated fats a long time ago, and their body's in a state of deficiency, because we do need saturated fats. They help us with the fat-soluble vitamins to help to absorb them more deeply. Okay. Humi says, what can you do with dry patches of skin on the face? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. In big capital letters. Will rid. Not coconut oil 3 times a day. Not the best creams. Nothing. It's indicative of something systemic. Yes, it is. So I talked about the skin. Get some burdock. You can eat it as a food. There's also recipes on my website. If you go to andreabeeman.com, you'll see recipes with burdock root. Burdock will help you absorb the fats. It also helps to, like when you're absorbing your fats more deeply, your skin will be softer, right? When you're not absorbing fats, you'll have more dryness, right? More dryness, everything. And also as you age, you'll naturally become more dry because there's less absorption that happens. Usman says, I've read all about you. It's so meaningful and true. I've been suffering from underactive thyroid for the last 7 months, and I want to heal my thyroid naturally. My thyroid is funny, sometimes up and sometimes down. My doctor just prescribes thyroxine. I'm so worried about my health. I'm 32, from England. I hope to hear from you. Bless you, Usman. Usman, yeah, if it's up and down all the time, it could be autoimmune, right? So when there's an autoimmune thyroid condition, it'll toggle between hyper and hypo. Right, constantly toggling between hypo and hypo, hyper and hypo. So I would suggest that you start to heal if it is an autoimmune thyroid condition that you're toggling back and forth between. That you start to heal the gut. And here's another question from Tina. Tina says, can you naturally heal an autoimmune disease like rheumatoid arthritis? Yes. So like I said before, you know, you have to look into the gut. So rheumatoid arthritis is one of those autoimmune conditions, and it's going to cause pain and inflammation in the joints, right? So, and I say look into the gut because for those of you that know anything about the meridians, right? So you're going to have your spleen stomach meridian, right? This is, again, gut, that's running right down through the knees, right down into the toes, right into the second and third toe. And it starts at the eye, right? It starts at the eye, comes down, goes down the whole body, right through the gut. So you want to make sure that that stomach spleen is nourished properly. And it can get damp. And when it gets damp, you're going to have a higher incidence of rheumatoid arthritis. You're going to have a higher incidence of pain in the joints. You want to make sure that you don't have too much dampness. So things that contribute to damp are sweets. Any of the sweets will make a damp condition more damp. Too much breads, too much grains, too much red meats, right? Because again, this is contributing to a dampness. So it has to be balanced. You want to try and dry up that condition. You want to make sure that the stomach is getting what it needs. It needs the sweet flavor, but when you're eating too much sugar, too much sweet, too much stuff that has that sweet, it's not so good. So like I would switch, like if you have the RA, I would switch to mostly fish. You know, this is the opposite condition of osteoarthritis, right? Where rheumatoid arthritis comes from like a dampness inside the body, the osteoarthritis comes from a dryness. So for the osteoarthritis, you'd want to give red meat, right? You want to give more stuff like that, but not for rheumatoid arthritis. Okay. Mary Lou says, recently I had an episode of eczema. I've never had anything like this. I would say 90% of my body was covered. Wow. Yeah, that's some stress going on right there. If you just, your whole body, right, your whole protective coat just got covered in fire, right? Little pimples and weeping and hot and itchy, right? That's like, stay away. Like, you know, your skin is your protection. It protects you from the outside world in a physical way and in an emotional way. So if your whole body, 90%, popped out with eczema, then this is some protection that needs to, you know, like you're telling people stay away. Right? Goodbye. I'm hot. I'm inflamed. I'm itchy. Don't come near me. So she says, I was wondering, I'd like to say 90% of my body was covered. I was wondering if this could be stress related and how to ensure it will not happen again. My blood work showed elevated levels, but not enough to diagnose an autoimmune situation, which I don't want to ever have. I can't imagine how my immune system would let me down at this point in my life. I eat vegan and I'm fairly physically active. Your immune system hasn't let you down. It hasn't. You know, you hit the nail on the head. Stress is a big trigger. Right? So again, look at what is the emotional connection to the skin? This is the protector. So something inflamed you and you wanted people away. And this is on the emotional and the spiritual level of your body. On the physical level, if the adrenals and the kidneys are in a weakened state, you'll have more reactions, right? More histamine reactions, more you said your levels are not high enough to be diagnosed with an autoimmune. But when there's an autoimmune condition, again, you got to look at the gut, but also we're looking at the kidneys and the adrenals because they're sending out, right, the thing to bring down the inflammation, right? So if they are taxed and exhausted, they're going to overreact. They're going to overreact. They're just going to be popping out send out the stress hormone and all that stuff. Your whole system's going to be out of balance. So it's much bigger than just diet. And you said that you're a vegan, that's not necessarily going to contribute to it, but if you're in a state of deficiency, then it would, right? So if your body is physically deficient, then that would contribute to this condition. Okay, so there's a lot to look at. So let me take one question from here. How are we doing on time? 1:39. Sandy says, I love listening to you, Andrea. Oh, thanks, Sandy. Admire your work. Hope I can meet you in person one day. Let me know if you're ever in Montreal. Okay, great, I will. Susan says, soda is poison. Yeah, that's the truth, sister. Alexia says, just wash the nether regions after the beach day. Yes, totally. We don't have to just, we're so crazy. you need to have the sun, like the sun goes on the skin and it needs to be there for 24 hours before it's absorbed, right? So, we think that you just go out and you get sun and you're done. No, just it needs to stay there to be absorbed. So we are so crazy with cleaning everything all the time, over cleansing ourselves. Why do you think we have so much disease and the highest rates of infection coming from hospitals? Because they're so clean, right? They're so clean. Everything's just so clean. So one little bacteria gets in there and, that's a mess. Okay. So Denise says, I very recently started having a pulsing in my right heel. I read some people describe it like there's a phone ringing in their foot. It's funny. Do you remember Maxwell Smart in the 70s? I forgot. Well, it was Get Smart. And he used to answer the phone. He'd pull up, hello, and his phone was in his little shoe. So, the pulsing in the right heel. So the heel is connected to, again, we're looking at kidney here, but it's also connected to the reproductive system. So I would say it's right heel. So take a look at what's going on in the right ovary. And and we see this, like women will see this, especially when the heels get dry, the ovaries are starting to get dry as well. The fluids are starting to dry a little bit. So she said, I was wondering if you know what it is and have any info. From what I read, it sounds like I need to go to a chiropractor, and I'm thinking to do thieves in my almond milk. I'm wondering if you have an experience with this solution. Yeah, like I said, the pulsing in the right heel, this is connected to your right kidney, but also to your reproductive system. So check your right ovary. Check your ovary, sister. And answer that phone. Just pick up your shoe and answer the phone and see what happens. Connie says, have you done a video on food cravings? I'm wondering why I crave oranges and have since surgery 2009. I eat up to 6 clementines a day. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and laughter. Okay, Connie, so in the clementine, in the pith of the clementine is lots of vitamin C and quercetin, right? So you may this, I don't know what kind of surgery you had, but your body may need a big hit of vitamin C. So a lot of times we'll need a big hit of vitamin C when the adrenals are fatigued. We'll need big hits of vitamin C when the immune system is down. So that's all stuff to look into. Okay, so Stephanie, I love you too, honey. Zymara, I think that's how I'm pronouncing your name. Is it true that coconut oil or coconut gives you the bad LDL? Not for everybody. You look in the tropics where coconut oil originated, and that's one of their best fats. So it's not for everybody. It depends on how you process the oil, how your body processes the oil. Like I said, for me, in the northeastern United States, there's no coconuts growing anywhere, so I'm a seasonal eating kind of gal. So it's not my main saturated fat. So you look at the saturated fats which are by you and figure out which one you like, and to continue to have coconut oil. But it's I think it's a good fat. I think it's a really good saturated fat, and I do eat it myself. And I have read the articles about the raising the LDL and all that stuff. So we're just gonna have to wait and see. It is a traditional fat. So and when I say wait and see, I don't mean like wait until you get a heart attack. That's not what I'm saying at all. But try this test, and this is where your doctor will come in really handy. Take out all saturated fats from your diet and just put coconut oil in. Have a blood test before. Go to a heart doctor that really specializes in testing the fluffy particles and the non-fluffy particles. The fluffy particles are the good ones in the blood, and have him test. Do like one of those tests. And have it done, and then 3 months later, just have coconut oil and see what happens to your particles. Because in 3 months, you'll know, right? You'll have a whole system change, all of your blood cells change every day, but within 3 months, 90 days to 120 days, depending on your metabolism, you'll have a full system blood reboot, right? All the new blood cells for your whole system. So that's a good indicator. And then if your LDL has gotten higher, then the coconut oil is not the right fat for you. Okay, So Anne says, what are your thoughts on eating Swiss chard raw? I love using it as a wrap recently when I needed something lighter, but wasn't sure if I can find solid information on whether it's the best to eat raw or if it can negatively affect our thyroid. I am struggling with hypothyroidism and trying to rebalance my gut flora. Thanks, Andrea. I love your info. Okay, so generally people with hypothyroidism, I don't recommend raw Swiss chard. You know, like, although it is summertime, so lots more, like I'll recommend raw microgreens, baby greens, salads, because they're rich in vitamin C and, you know, collagen. They just got a lot of great stuff in them. And they're refreshing and they're delicious. But if you have a low digestive fire, which often happens with a hypothyroid condition, then too much cold, raw food is going to dampen that fire and make it worse, right? It'll make you even more sluggish. So I would say traditionally Swiss chard, not eaten raw. You know, like I'm trying to think of all the recipes traditionally that have come from other cultures with Swiss chard, and generally there's not lots of raw Swiss chard recipes. Same thing with spinach. You know, it does contain a high amount of oxalates, so if you have a tendency towards stones, not so much on the raw Swiss chard. Okay, let's get another one here. Tammy says, can one really get off thyroid medication successfully? I tried but ended up miserable and depressed with no energy. Yeah, I've had lots of students and clients get off their thyroid medication. It takes time, it takes patience. It's not going to happen overnight. Sometimes it'll take 3 months, sometimes it'll take 3 years. Just be really patient and loving with your body's process. The disease didn't develop overnight. It's not going to go away overnight. That's not the way that it works. Judith says, in your book, you recommend taking black walnut hull before the liver cleanse. How long should I take it before the cleanse? Oh, yeah, I recommend that to kill the excess bacteria, right? So who was talking about gut biosis? Earlier, somebody put in, tell me about gut biosis, dysbiosis. Black walnut hull is another one of my favorites for that. If there is infections in the small intestine, I love it. I think it's great. It's one of the reasons why I recommend for my people with autoimmune thyroid, you know, whether it's Graves or Hashis or anything like that, that they take black walnut hull for like 3 weeks. And that's how long I generally recommend it for. Because if you have any worms or parasites as well, which can also contribute to an autoimmune thyroid condition, and any other autoimmune condition, right? Parasites. And we got them. You know, who doesn't want to live in a human body, right? Everybody wants to live in a human body, including the bugs and the worms and everything else, right? They want to live here. You don't want to wipe them out entirely. We need populations in here. But if you have an overpopulation, that's where the problems come in, right? SIBO, parasite infections, and also with dysbiosis, there is generally, but I'm going off topic. Let me come back. Okay, I was going to say there generally is some little critter in there that's causing trouble. So I recommend black walnut hull. I love it. It's astringent. It's toning. It's a vermifuge. Gets rid of the worms. 21 days. You know, 3 times a day. It's going to give you a little bit of diarrhea. Be prepared as your little critters exit the body. Right? They don't go out happily. Right, they go out dead. So that's you know, you have a little. Just make sure you have some toilet paper on hand. And it won't be like that. Like, it won't be like you're running to the bathroom, but you will have some cramping, especially if you do have an excess of bugs in there. You will have some cramping, and you'll have a little loose stool. Oh, thanks, Stephanie, for putting in the link for my book. Maggie says, I'm sitting in a little cafe on my lunch break and I wish I had headphones so I can hear this. Oh, yeah, you'll be able to see it. Angela says, my son has cystic acne on his back. Where do I even begin? Angela, great. His hormones are out of balance, right? But that's normal because he's a teenager. I don't know if he's a teenager. You said my son. I'm assuming he's a teenager. If he's not a teenager, he still has hormone imbalance. So you want to make sure to balance the hormones, right? Because anytime the cystic acne pops up, you want to look at the lymphatic system. You want to look at the liver. for any time anybody has acne and pimples of any kind, I love, and I'm just checking the time, I love burdock root. I love it in food. I love it in soups. I love it in stews. I love it in stir fries. Tincture. I love it in tea. I think it's great. And I learned about burdock root, I don't know, 20-something years ago, maybe 25 years ago when my mom was sick, because it's used a lot in Japanese medicine. And I loved it since then. I was like, God, there's something about this root that I love. And I used to get like big, gigantic, one of those unicorn pimples that come up right here. Right? You know, everybody's had those at one point in their life. And I used to get them all the time, like right there. It was ridiculous. It was not a third eye. Okay. So yeah, start with some burdock. Put it into his food. Give him some tea, burdock tea, and it'll help with the, because it does help with both the lymphatic system, but also the absorption of fats. So Julie says, hi dear, I need your help. My hair and nails damaged. Hi dear, need your help. My hair, my nails damaged. Okay, so hair and nails, protein discharge, right? This is protein. This is protein. This is protein. Right? So if they're damaged, and I used to have terrible split ends, oh my God, then you're not absorbing proteins. If these are weak and flaking, right, so you want to press them and you want them to have some strength, then you're not absorbing proteins. So you want to be able to absorb your proteins. Drink some Nettles tea. Make sure you're cooking your proteins properly. My gosh, you know, like if you cannot absorb proteins and then you take like a steak or a chicken and you just pan sear it on the stove, it tightens the proteins. Right? It releases the water, it tightens the proteins. It's much harder to digest. So if you have trouble digesting proteins, braise them, stew them, cook them for long periods of time. Don't just put them in a pan and then grilled chicken, right? The worst. Really hard for people with a slow or a low digestive fire to process that. So you want to make sure you're absorbing your proteins, and if this is falling out, it's due to stress. I'm just throwing this little hair all over the place. Okay, Dawn says, what's the best thing to eat when you have Crohn's? Well, you have to look at what's going on within the digestive system, and you have to start the digestive process here and make sure that you are relaxed when you eat. So it's 1:51. We only have about 9 minutes left. I'll keep going through. So digestion begins here, not here. So you have to chew, you have to masticate your food and make sure that you are, you know, making that your saliva, which has a lot of digestive enzymes in there, you're starting the digestive process here before you swallow. You also need to relax. So there's rest and digest, which is parasympathetic nervous system, and there is sympathetic nervous system, which is fight or flight. And they are not on at the same time, okay? One comes on, the other goes off. So if you are in rest and digest, you can digest food. If you are on fight or flight, guess what happens to digestion? So you can't have them on at the same time. They balance each other, right? Parasympathetic, sympathetic nervous system. Rest and digest, and then this one is fight or flight. So if you're in fight or flight, you can't digest your food, so you gotta relax. Somebody with any digestive problems has to relax before they eat, and most people are not relaxed before they eat. You know, say a prayer, thank you for this meal, thank you for the chef, thank you for this food, thank you for the sunshine that grew the food, thank you for the farmer that harvested it, right? Just get into a state of gratefulness, and it'll help to relax your system. Okay. Angela says, I love Get Smart. Okay, so I think there's one more question from my website. So for those of you that are just joining me, most of the questions that came from Ask Andrea. If you go to my website, andreabeeman.com, on the sidebar is Ask Andrea, and I will talk about this last question. And she says, and then I'll get to the rest of these questions here because we still have 5 minutes. Hi, Andrea. And this is from Anne. I stopped eating beans a few years ago. I noticed it left my stomach swollen and in pain. Oh, yeah. So you were just talking about eating raw Swiss chard. You're the same gal. I'm lactose intolerant and it felt worse when I eat dairy, which FYI used to be terrible. Since my gut is slowly healing, yes, you have to heal your gut. It's not as bad if it accidentally slips into my food. This goes for all legumes, beans, peas, and lentils. Strangely enough, peanuts are usually fine. In fact, I crave peanut butter right before my cycle. My question, is that normal? Any idea why? Is there anything I can do to move towards being able to eat them again? Yes, so the fact that you're craving peanuts before your cycle, this is very telling of a liver blood deficiency. Okay, so you're craving peanuts. Peanuts are rich in fat and protein. And for you to absorb the minerals to build the blood, you need fat and protein, as well as minerals, right? Because this all works together. So you're craving fat before your period because your liver needs blood, right? Your liver needs blood. So that means you're in a liver blood deficiency. And that comes from a kidney deficiency, right? Remember, for those of you that joined earlier, kidneys are feeding liver. So all of your organs are working in harmony. They're all working together. So this is the bloating, the distension that you're having when, or you're healing your gut, right? You want to make sure that you're supporting your liver through nourishing your kidneys. Your kidneys are going to feed liver. You want to make sure you're getting minerals, fats, and proteins, and you want to make sure that they're getting absorbed, right? Because if they're not getting absorbed, it doesn't matter what you eat. You could be eating the best food in the world. If you are lacking that digestive fire, if you're lacking the enzymes that you need, right? And the enzymes are starting here, and then of course the pancreas is putting them in, as well as your bile is being secreted. So you need all of this to work in harmony so that you can absorb what you need to build blood, right? Without blood, there's no life. Right? If you want to kill somebody, you cut one of their arteries and you let them bleed to death, right? Death, right? So we need to build blood. And you lose too much blood, death comes. So the period is a loss of blood every single, and for those guys that are here, I'm sorry if I just grossed you out, but women, we bleed. And women bleed for, that's how strong their bodies are. So traditionally, when I was studying ancient healing medicine, they always said that the women's body was physically stronger internally than a man's body. And I understand it now, because we bleed every month for 30 years or 40 years, every single month. Bleeding, having this operation every single time. So our bodies have to be internally stronger to be able to handle that. Yeah, go women. So you need to build blood. You're in a blood deficiency state, and you need to build some blood. I cover a lot of this stuff in my New Healers program. For those of you that, it's the last day, by the way. For those of you that want to learn about understanding the body on a deeper level and how all of the organs work together, not separately. Heart's not working on its own. Liver's not working on its own. Kidney's not working on its own. Stomach, small intestine, and spleen, right? Those are not working on their own. They're all working together. If you want to understand the body and what to feed it and how to make it work better, then you gotta sign up before 5 p.m. because registration closes and then it won't open again until 2018. So Stephanie will put a link there. Let me get to the rest of the questions in the little 3 minutes that I have. Susan says natural skin tag removal. You can certainly remove the skin tags. Celandine externally can remove skin tags. But why the skin tags there? Usually it's from a virus. So something's feeding the virus that's pushing the skin tags up. So a lot of times, believe it or not, it's dairy. Not everybody can process dairy, so you'll see like when people are eating a lot of dairy and they can't process it, they'll start to have little skin tags popping up all over the place. And I'm not talking about the red ones, I'm talking about the brown ones. So some virus is being fed, right? And viruses love protein, where bacteria loves sugar, right? So if you have a virus, right, that's being fed, and it's just going to pop all over the place, right? Because they just love to proliferate. Is that the right word? Just grow out of control in your system. Okay. Oh, Angela says yes, he's a teenager. Yeah, if you can, get him to have some Burdock Tea. It does taste sweet. There's a recipe on my website that can help. Lots of recipes with burdock root that you can find. Okay, yeah, Lee says burdock is yummy. It really is. It's one of my favorites. Lee says, funny, I got the unicorn pimples on my chin. Yeah, on the chin. Yeah, so this is related to the liver, right? So I've always had some liver trouble ever since I damaged my poor little kidneys when I was a drug addict. Or I can't say drug addict. into hardcore drugs. And then this area is related to the uterus and the reproductive organs, right? So you have liver. I mean, your whole face is going to tell you what's going on in the system. You know, like women, when they get their period, the tendency is that they'll get like something here, something there, something there, right? This is the reproductive system. You know, it shows up on the face. Okay. Jessica says, I've had 2 miscarriages. I'm sorry, honey. And the doctors have said hypothyroidism, and this is the cause of my miscarriages. I'm now on thyroid medication. Would it be smart to stay on the medication or get off and try to heal my thyroid naturally? We're still trying to have a baby. No, I mean, you could start trying to heal your thyroid naturally. I would highly recommend that. And then once it becomes natural, you could lower your medications. But you know, like you'll know because you have to go back to your doctor for blood work, right? As your thyroid naturally improves, they'll have to bring down the medication. It happens all the time. So, you know, you don't have to get, if you're trying to have a baby, and you keep in mind that if you're trying to have a baby, one of the reasons why the miscarriages come is they, you know, in Western medicine, they'll look at the thyroid cause the miscarriage. But in energetic medicine, there's not enough energy in the body, right? So the thyroid is slowing down. It's a process. It's not going to hold on to the baby. There's not enough energy to keep the baby in there. So you want ashwagandha, ginsengs, all of those roots that are going to start to bring you some energy, more fats, better quality proteins, energy. You want to improve your energy, reduce the stress. There's a good book that I like. I recommend. It's by Nina Plank called Real Food for Mother and Baby. Start doing that stuff. And it's funny, like I've had a lot of people go through my thyroid program and they get pregnant, right? Because the thyroid, they get their energy back and naturally, boom, the baby goes there because the baby won't come when there's no energy. Okay, so Lee says, how about seborrheic keratoses, seen mostly in older people? I don't know what seborrheic keratosis is. I'll have to look that up or explain it. Well, it's already 2:01, so send it to me in a note, Lee, or put it onto the Facebook page, the New Healers page, and I'll answer that one there, because I don't know. I mean, is that the red spots that come up on the skin? You know, put it in. Okay, so let's see. It's oh, Stacy says, I want to sign up. Send the link, please. Oh yeah, for the New Healers Master Coaching Program. It's so much fun. It's 4 months, and we cover the face, we cover the organs, we cover the meridians, we cover, you know, how to really assess the system, and then what do you give to help the person heal? Oh, Lee says they're dark mole-like patches. Okay, yeah, so those are sugar-related, actually, and it could be viral as well. If they're flat, they're sugar-related, and if they are the raised ones, it's virus. So then that could be sugar-related in a different way, meaning it breaks down the immune system. Somebody having too much sugar, immune system crashes, boom, the big patches come up. Okay. Okay, so let's see. It's 2:02. I'm gonna close out of this session of Ask Andrea. I want to thank everybody for sending in your questions on my website, www.andreabeeman.com. On the sidebar is the Ask Andrea, and I get to the questions once per month. I don't know that I'm going to do it through the summer. Like I said, I need a little summer vacation, but I'm happy to get to them. Maybe I'll do something at the end of July and then take August off. So if you do have a question, put it in. I'll get to it at the end of July, and then August, I'll take a little break. Angela says, when will the Healers Program be offered? Next year, 2018, the end of January. Okay, so Lee says, yes, flat, but I don't eat sugar. Oh, but it's what's turning to sugar. So when the liver is it's a glucogen storehouse, and it's getting late and I gotta fly. You know, your liver stores glucagon, right? So when you get stressed, that turns into glucose into your system. So when there's excess sugar that's put into the system, these little brown patches will pop up, right? They're flat. They're not the raised ones. The raised ones are generally related by virus. Oh, look at that. Even my computer's shutting down. It's like, I'm getting out of here. You talk too much. My computer's ready to go home. All right, so I want to thank everybody. Oh, Lee says a lot of fruit. I'm super careful about that. Okay, so thank you, everybody. I'll see you next time. And for those of you that are in the New Healers program this time around, you got your first module yesterday, and you get to watch it whenever you want. You're going to have a lot of fun looking at the face and the eyes and the nose and the lips and the ears and all that stuff. And I will see you guys next month. Have a fantastic summer. Sending love. I see all the hearts popping up. I'm sending you guys so much love back. Thanks for showing up and letting me yada, yada, yada for an hour. Bye, everybody.